rotating, you can change your...
Myself, I'm going to do that, but I never do. Because we have an oil shed on Lovell's Island in Boston. It belongs to the MDC, state of Massachusetts.
Yeah.
And one of my friends is actively involved in trying to get that restored because it had a slate roof at one time.
Yep. They just redid this roof.
Yeah, the framework is essentially the same.
All the roof is new.
Yeah.
They redid that to match the GPS building, so it didn't look, you know.
Yeah, and people like myself who are involved in preservation want to make sure that, if at all possible, whether they fall on Stephen Pleasanton and Winslow Lewis, who were in charge of lighthouses and Naval navigation in the early years before 1852, built these places, like the second and the first set of towers, that they had instructions to build the properties with whatever materials were available in that vicinity. That in our
history. They planned to make the first set was planned to be made out of rock, and he got here and there were none.
They didn't have any,
so they had to import the wood, and they were made out of wood.
That was the same instructions for Nauset, the Three Sisters, right. They build them made of rock, but they didn't have any here.
Yeah.
There are no glacial rocks except for Doan Rock up in Eastham. That's the only granite that's available. So even that's mostly pudding stone. So it's just good to see that these are being maintained.
Yeah.
To a certain extent, anyway. Yeah. I was just curious to know if you knew of any property. It's called wainscoting.
Wainscoting?
Yeah, you see it in a lot of houses in Boston, like say where you live.
Right.
If you went under some of the plaster walls, you'd probably find some of this.
Okay, now we're going to go up into the lighthouse.
Yeah.
Understand.
That's the second set of towers. This is just before the cast iron towers came in. Now this here, that would have been a fog signal. There would have been a bell inside of that. And the way this building was made, that whenever the bell was rung, the sound would reverberate from here. It could be heard, theoretically, up to 6 or 7 miles away. It would have been a 1,000-pound bronze bell that would have had a certain amount of gold dust in the mixture. There's its own signature tone. That's nice. Type of cabbage seed. But it would be too expensive. It's too timely and too expensive to process that type of oil. It burned poorly too. It had too high a fat content. Then they used lard oil too at one time. Lard oil, of course, produced a lot of soot, a lot of smoke. So finally, when they discovered earth oil, or kerosene as we know it now, they could pressurize that. If it was filtered properly, they had a pressurizing tank, much the same as you use a Coleman lantern now. They put that into a tank that would be pressurized, and there would be a small tube that came from that and curved up into what we call a wick. And that, when the kerosene was vaporized, it turned into almost a gas, a very fine mist, and it burned a much brighter, clearer flame and produced less soot. When they had whale oil, or coals or lard oil, one of the most timely and less cost-efficient things that they had to do was polish this lens every day. Because immediately upon sunrise, you had to extinguish the wick, trim it, clean all the lamp gas that was around it, shine all the brass away. You had to polish the lens. I polished the lens at Boston Light once, about 3 years ago. 3 other people. It took us 4 hours. Polished the lens. The lens at Boston Light has 1,030 individual prisms that are all bound together in a brass frame. Well, they had to use jeweler's rouge to polish the brass. And they had to use chamois or non-lint. Yeah. I've got one from the Lightship 112, 1976, that we use in the display.
See, I'm an Air Force guy.
Oh, okay.
I used to talk to you at the ocean stations. Ocean Station November was out in the Atlantic Ocean when I flew.
Yeah.
We used to take all the messages.
Here we are, folks. We're up on the lighthouse, overlooking Chatham.
guys go crazy.
Yeah.
There's one lightkeeper in Miners Ledge off Cohasset who killed himself one winter. I don't know the name of the fella, and I've tried to find out through many different logs and what have you. But the tower was frozen solid with ice from the spray, salt spray hitting the tower during the winter months, especially in the northeast storms. And the tower got sealed shut, and the keeper couldn't get out. Cut his own throat. Yeah, and a lot of legends. Another keeper was said to have killed himself because there's so much time to think out there. Once you finish your daily routine of polishing and cleaning and painting and whatever, there was nothing to do. Most of these guys weren't literate.
Well, there's one fellow that took down logs, and he wrote down, I was reading the logs Saturday, S-A-T-E-R-B-A-Y.
Yeah.
Someone died of, the President of the United States died today of
Garfield,
wounds, and it went on like
Yeah.
that. So
He got the communication from one of the local radio stations here,
Oh, I don't
one of the
know.
Marconi stations, and he was the first one here in the Northeast to get the news, and he'd spread from here. Yeah.
But it mentioned the railroad, first train for the railroad came in today,
Yeah.
and he got a free ride.
Yeah.
From Harwich in, the Chatham line was, and they laid all the straight rails, and the way he wrote straight, S-T-R-E-I-G-H.
He couldn't get around the rocks up there, and he set foot somewhere here in Cape Cod, the speculation says. There's really no evidence to prove that, but
Yeah,
it's a nice
I
theory.
moved here 2 years ago, and I rented a house on the Shore Road, and the lights used to flash into
Yeah.
the window upstairs. And after that, I waited 6 months and looked for houses. Finally, my wife found one she liked, and we bought an old house up in the north end of Chatham. And all of a sudden, I come home, and there's a boat in my driveway, and I said, "Where'd the boat come from?" "Brian, your buddy, brought it over." His mother said, "One boat in the yard at a time." He had bought a new boat. So I acquired a nice 16-foot Amesbury skiff with a 25 horsepower engine.
Right.
So I'm working on it now. It's all registered. I'm ready to put it in the water.
You asked me a question, let me throw one at you.
Yeah.
Why did the Pilgrims land at Cape Cod?
Why did the Pilgrims land at Cape Cod? Well, I know they couldn't come ashore or anywhere else. They got driven up here in storms, didn't they?
That was partly true. There are three reasons. Number one, they were running out of beer. They spelled it B-I-E-R. Number two, their food supplies were running low. And three, they couldn't get around Nantucket shoals.
Well, I knew that the tide here was very swift,
Yeah.
and that's why they went north. They kept sailing north with the winds,
Yeah.
and landed at Pilgrim Lake up there and got their first
Yeah.
drinking
They
water.
tried for days to get around the Nantucket shoals, but the further south they kept going, the more sandbars they did.
Yeah.
They had no idea how much further they had to go.